Good afternoon. First at 4 p.m, Alan Jones has been charged with 24 historical indecent assault and sexual touching offences, police announced just moments ago. Kate Creedon is live for us. Kate, his youngest alleged victim, just 17 years old.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. Just in the past hour, police have charged Alan Jones. He remains here inside Day Street Police Station. He is facing 24 charges against 8 alleged victims, including 11 counts of aggravated indecent assault, victim under authority of offender, 9 counts of assault with act of indecency, 2 counts of sexually touch another person without consent, and 2 counts of common assault. Now, all of these offences allegedly took place between 2001 and 2007, and as you said, his youngest alleged victim was 17 years old. The 83-year-old, who was once considered one of Australia's most powerful men in media, was arrested this morning. Police say he was very calm as they executed a search warrant inside his luxury apartment in what's known as the Toaster Building at Circular Quay. Police say his arrest follows a 9-month-long investigation by the State Crime Command. However, the former shock jock and Wallabies coach has previously denied any wrongdoing. And in the past hour, police addressed the media with some very disturbing details about his alleged victims.
We will allege the accused knew some of them personally, some of them professionally. We'll also allege that some of the victims, when the alleged offence took place, was the first time they ever met. The victims have now got the ability to have a voice. This is what they've been asking for.
Now, Alan Jones has been granted bail with some very strict conditions, including that he doesn't contact his alleged victims and also some restrictions around travel. He is still here, as I said, at Day Street Police Station. He is expected to leave fairly shortly. We saw his legal team leave not too long ago, about an hour ago. He will appear in court on December 18, Mark.
Kate, thank you for that. Well, Australian businesses could be forced to accept cash for essential items under reforms proposed by the federal government. Live now to federal politics reporter Claudia Vidoljak. Claudia, there seems to be wide support for the plan.
Yeah, there does, Mark. Around 1.5 million Australians still use cash for 80% of their purchases. And this proposal is aimed at protecting the payment method for them at a time when more businesses are turning cashless. Not all stores will be impacted though, only those selling essential goods and services like groceries, fuel and medicine. As it stands, companies won't face penalties and the changes won't come into effect until 2026. The coalition claims it to be a thought bubble and distraction from the rising cost of living, but it has been widely welcomed, especially by the elderly and rural communities.
Cash can be a really important lifeline. It can be an important backup. It gives people peace of mind and a sense of security, and that's why we are making it an ongoing feature of our economy.
This looks to me like a government scratching around for an economic agenda because it's lost the fight against inflation. That's the problem that Australians want solved.
The top thing that people are worried about is the cost of living here. I suggest they start zooming into what they're going to do to fix that.
Economists say that could become tougher for Australian workers who are expected to pay $500 billion in extra tax over the next 10 years. That's due to bracket creep. As for whether we can expect an overhaul of the tax system, though, neither of the major parties are promising big changes. Mark.
Claudia, thank you. Well, the police officer who tasered an elderly nursing home resident in Cooma, southern New South Wales last year has been questioned during his manslaughter trial in the Supreme Court. Christian White appeared in the witness box today for the first time over 95-year-old Claire Nowlan's death. She was carrying a knife when police were called. Mr. White says it was quite clear her intent was to use the knife. A major shift in the Russia-Ukraine war this morning, with US President Joe Biden approving Volodymyr Zelensky's use of American long-range weapons inside Russia. Europe correspondent Jessica Millwood explains.
This is a major development in the war and something that Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has been calling for months. Now, in the final weeks of his presidency, Joe Biden has granted Zelensky's wish and he will now be able to use US long-range missiles to launch into Russia. This is something that Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned against repeatedly, saying it would be seen as the US directly becoming involved in the war. The trigger for this is said to be North Korean troops joining Russia on the front line in Kursk, but it will have huge ramifications for the war going forward. And the announcement came just hours after Russian missiles bombarded Ukraine, the biggest strike they've seen since August. 120 missiles and 90 drones launched. Some were shot down by Ukraine defences, but plenty of them did hit their targets, including a military airport and a number of the country's power grids. It's meant that all Ukrainian regions will experience power restrictions, just as they are going into a brutal winter. In response to the attack, Poland and NATO allies scrambled their jets to safeguard their airspace. 7 people were killed across Ukraine in these attacks, but this development now will have huge ramifications for the war that is now approaching the 1,000-day milestone.
He's going to be in charge of America's health, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been snapped eating McDonald's on the president-elect's private plane. It turns out Donald Trump's favourite meal is a Macca burger, fries and Coke. This all comes as he continues to set a cracking pace for his new-look cabinet, making 12 appointments in just 12 days, compared to 40 days for Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Israel has confirmed it's killed militant group Hezbollah's media chief, Mohammed Al-Fif, in an airstrike on a building in central Beirut. The death is the latest in a series of the group's top officials, including its leader Hassan Nasrallah. The Israel attack was the first on the city's centre in more than a month. Beirut South is usually the target. The race to rescue people still trapped a day after a 4-storey building collapsed in the busy market area of the commercial capital Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Rescue teams have made contact with them and are sending water, glucose and oxygen via gaps in the rubble. At least 13 people have died, while another 84 have been rescued so far. Well, more on our breaking news this afternoon. Alan Jones charged with 24 offences. Let's bring in journalist David Laser with his reaction. David, you've written extensively about Alan Jones. What's your reaction to all these charges?
Well, it's a shocking moment. It's a man who was once almost seemingly invincible, a man who bestrided the media landscape and who called premiers and prime ministers to account, to whom bureaucrats and public servants and police commissioners shuddered. He was a fearsome character and people feared him. So this is a shocking moment, and we can't prejudge the court case, but it's a shocking moment.
David, what is surprising is the number of victims, 8 young victims at this stage, including one as young as 17 years old.
Well, I had someone write to me just after the story broke this morning and made allegations that I had never heard before. So I imagine that this could well flush out more allegations. Who knows? But it's hard, Mark, to talk about this because it's before the courts, and I've got to be very careful about what I say. But just a titan has fallen today, and a man who was able to lord it over this city and over Australian politics for a long, long time has been arrested. So it's really a moment of reckoning.
David, many people would be surprised by the length of time this investigation has taken, given that the offences date from 2001 to 2019. But that is the nature of historical offences like this, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is. And look at the Me Too movement and how it started and where it started. And, Harvey Weinstein, obviously, he was the first tree to fall in that sort of forest of prominent men. But women had talked about those, about what he had allegedly and actually done to them over many, many years. It's one thing for people to talk about it and for there to be rumour and gossip and innuendo. It's another thing for there to be the legal things in place to actually lay charges. So, look, I first wrote about Jones back in the late 1990s, and there was a lot of scuttlebutt at that time, some of which I put to him during my 4.5-hour interview with him, all of which he denied. But that scuttlebutt has never gone away. Those rumours have only just firmed up now into serious allegations.
Indeed. David, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you.